Hello. Uh, yeah, waiting for someone to chime in. Waiting for our first caller. Waiting for the first caller of the day. No one in the chat. Oh man. Someone gotta be in the chat. Hey, Miss Rick, how are you? Okay, good. You're the first one here. You're the first caller. Um, so mic check, audio check. How we doing? Check, check, 1, 2. Check, check. Hey Victor, how are you? Yes, hello. Check, check. Video, mic check. Okay, good, good, good. Sound is good, but what about the video? Hey, Captain Kenway, how are you? You can hear and see. Oh, video's good. Gotta have lighting. You gotta have lighting. It makes the biggest difference in the world. Makes the biggest difference in the world. Yeah. All right, folks. Hello, everyone. Hello. 4:30 on Thursday, September 19th. Hello, I'm Ming Chow. I'm Associate Teaching Professor at Tufts University, and welcome to Introduction to Security, Introduction to Cybersecurity course at Tufts. Today, we may need to use the entire time because it is a dense topic. Yet, this is where things start to get really interesting. Because now it's time. Okay, you have a little background on networking, but now this week and also next week, we're going to start to attack networks. Oh, yes. We're going to attacking networks. And today, there are a couple ways to attack computer networks. Um, but we're going to look into, before you do anything crazy, today is going to be focused on reconnaissance. Reconnaissance, network reconnaissance. Hey, Oblivion, how are you? Reconnaissance. That sounds like a military term, right? Yes, it is. Now, the first thing that we need to do, we need to understand is, well, like a lot of things, is basic terminology. And a lot of the basic terminology and concepts in cybersecurity are derived from industry and from the military. One of the diagrams and one of the models that I always present to people learning cybersecurity is this concept better known as a cyber kill chain. Hey, big brother, how are you? Now, here is the thing. Now, the cyber kill chain was developed by Lockheed Martin, and here is the website. Yeah. So, what is this? Why is it so special? Really, it boils down to terminology. That's the important part of a cyber kill chain. But as it said here, developed by Lockheed Martin, the cyber kill chain framework is a framework that's part of the intelligence-driven defense model. And to make a long story short, what this model does is a very old model too. It identifies what attackers do. That is also valuable for defenders as well, is to understand the mindset of an attacker, an adversary, to achieve their objectives. And This is a model that's pretty well known, although old, but the terminology remains the same. And so the long story short is, how does an attacker break into systems? What's the process? What's the methodology? And the cyber kill chain has 7 phases. And phase number 1 is it goes reconnaissance, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, command and control, and actions on objectives. So this course is going to focus a lot on reconnaissance. We will do exploitation, weaponization, and delivery in this course, like throughout the whole course. Step number 1 is by far and away the most important step in the framework, and that is reconnaissance. Harvesting email addressed conference information. What reconnaissance is, hey, believe in it, congratulations to be a senior developer. Joy. And this is only the beginning of better things for you to come. Congratulations and well deserved. Reconnaissance is information gathering. Now, the one thing is that reconnaissance has been around since mankind, and there are many ways to get information. It's not limited to just high tech ways, but also low tech ways as well, such as searching a dumpster. Um, you still can do this. It's like check the dumpsters of restaurants and banks, and you'll be surprised in what information you can find. You'll be really shocked at the data that you will find and see. And we're going to focus on reconnaissance today, on how to gather information about targets. And of course, goes without saying, reconnaissance is by far and away the most important step because, look, the worst thing that you can do is you just go guns a blazing or just fire up a computer and just hack away without having a plan, without having a blueprint, without knowing who your target even is. It's building a house without a blueprint. So reconnaissance is by far and away the most important step. Weaponization is you know putting a backdoor in, building the exploit. Delivery is like email, spam, like phishing, USB stick. We're going to a website. Exploitation. Exploitation is just exploiting a vulnerability on a system to execute some sort of code, usually malicious code, on a victim system. Installation of the malware. Then you have command and control system, remote manipulation of the victim, usually from some other country, and actions on objectives is hands-on keyboard access. But today, the most important part again is phase number 1, reconnaissance. So we're going to gather information, as much information we can about a particular target. So this is all I need in terms of telling you what the cyber kill chain is, this model. So now we're going to focus on, well, time to have some fun. And yes, now we will be doing network reconnaissance on a real system. For the third lab in the course, you will be doing network reconnaissance on two targets. There's 2 targets I have for the third lab. Now, for today, here's what we are not going to do. I'm not going to use a real IP address somewhere like on the public internet. And the reason is I don't want people to be like hammering away at a system. And also for speed and performance purposes, I'm going to only use a target that is on my home network. Somewhere that hey, we don't want people to go hacking away and do stupid things. We don't want that. But it's also a lot faster if the target is on, in this case, my home network. Okay. So I'm going to give you an IP address. Hey, does anyone want to take 50? Okay, the target IP address. Target IP address I'm going to all give you is 192.168.1.219. Again, this target 192.168.1.219 is on my home network. It's not publicly available to anyone else. No, it's not publicly available to anyone else. However, on the third lab of this class, you will be given a real IP address. There's actually two of them, two real targets to play with. Okay? Thanks, CISO Global. Thanks. Okay? So now, thanks, CISO Global. Always good to see you. Now, here's a target IP address. Now, this is a real target, well, on my home network. So, I want to ask you some questions. Now, we're not even going to, don't even touch the keyboard. But let's say, for this IP address, 192.168.1.219, what questions do you have? What are the things, what's the information that you want? What information would you like to gather? What kind of information, what kind of data do you want to gather? Well, I'll start off, but I want you to chime in. You're just trying to gather information, any information about this target. What kind of information would we be gathering? Also, you can even think of, what if this was a real IP address out there on the internet? You know, for any target. What kind of information, data do you want to gather? Ooh, hey Frog. Okay. Here we go. So I like what Frog says. Number one, open ports. Two, where is it located? Where is the target located? Number three. 4, 5. Ooh. Look at these emails. That's a good one. URL. Yikes. Oh, CISO Global mentions email, URL. Ooh. What else? I like what Luffy said. Vulnerability in the open port. You know what? Vulnerabilities in the service says offered, if any. Look at port numbers. Alright, what else? Beware active versus pin. Oh, yes. Then touch them if you have to. CISO Global mentioned a very important topic, which we will get into today. Okay? Beware of active and passive reconnaissance. Anytime you quote unquote touch them, anytime you use things like go to a website on the IP address, SSH into the target IP address if it is even available, you're touching the target IP. That means that the target will probably be recording what you did. The target will have a record of what you are doing. Even logins, correct logins, incorrect login, incorrect login, doesn't matter. The other thing, so you really want to, so you may be wondering, are there ways to actually get around that, go under the radar? We'll talk about that today too. Is there a way for passive reconnaissance cards, Shodan and other websites wouldn't work for this public address? Would it? Yeah, that's correct. For this one is interesting. So for this IP address, because it is an internal network, a lot of passive techniques like Shodan will not work. That's correct. Google will not work. However, if this was a real IP address, like a real public IP address, that'll be a totally different story. Okay, and depending on what you do, you may cross the line legality. Yes. Okay. But today, especially for the rudimentary learning purposes, we're going to do a lot of active reconnaissance. So be warned, things that we generally do for today will be recorded by the target. The target will know exactly what you're doing. Okay, you don't want to be leaving evidence. But for our learning purposes to start out, we're going to need to do active. All right, what other information you want to gather? What other things that you want to gather? Oh, come on, there's some basic ones. Ooh, what kind of a device is it? Yes. What kind of device is it? We don't know. It could be a coffee maker. It could be a Windows box. It could be and this stuff happened. It could be a baby monitor. It could be a wind turbine. You may be thinking you're joking, right? Nope, nope, not joking at all. Wait, it could be a crematorium. No, I'm not joking at all. It could be as a control system for a brewery. I'm not making this stuff up. Yes, that is like a kind of device. Oh yes, 7 operating system. I like that. What operating system? I like that one. Yeah, Luffy Frog says the operating system. Perfect. It could be a Mac. It could be Windows. We don't know. Ooh, there is another one. Hey, is a target IP address, is a target even up and running? Like it's not down. That's a really basic one. Okay? Alright. Does anyone want to take 50? I don't even want to ask what the 50 means. Software versions? Yeah, let's do that. Why software versions? Does anyone want to take 50? Why did you say? What's the importance of software versions? What's the importance of software versions? Does anyone want to, if it's running a web server, yeah, okay, what version, okay. Because sometimes what happens if someone is running like a really old version of a web server or a really old version of Windows? Well, you know what happens when you run really, really old versions of Windows. And they might not have the protection of new update. Um, yeah, don't be surprised if you still find targets on the internet that are still running Windows XP. All right. Is any encryption being used? Authentication? Yeah, let's do that. Oh yeah, I like that. I like that. Okay, I think we're gonna stop here. Let's stop here. This is a lot of information that we want to gather. Open ports, where's the target located, emails, URLs, vulnerabilities in the services of offer, what kind of device is it, operating system, is the target even up and running, software version, is encryption even being used? Okay, well, so where are we going to start off? Now the question is, which questions do we want to answer? I think the first one we're going to answer first is a target. Let's answer the basic ones first. And then you'll be very surprised and that we can answer a lot of these questions up, very quickly, like a bunch of them at one time. Let's talk about this one. Is the target even up and running? Is the target even up and running? Well, okay. Why is this important? Hey, we have to make sure this target IP is up and running. I mean, if we're going to need access, we're going to access it, right? Yeah, you can't access a system that is not running or dead, Common sense. Okay, So the tool that we're going to use is check if the target is up and running is one that I'm sure that a lot of you is very familiar with. Okay? And what CISO's Global said, ping is your friend, but most people block something called ping. It's actually even worse than that. Okay? It's actually even worse than people block ping these days. So wait a minute, what is ping? You do a man ping. Every single computer system, I think Windows, Mac, Linux have the tool ping installed. Ping is a diagnostic tool. Ping utility uses something called the Internet Control Message Protocol. I think that's what ICMP is. I believe that Internet Control Message Protocol. Internet Control Message Protocol. I got it right. There you go. ICMP, the Internet Control Message Protocol, is used by network devices such as routers to send error messages and operational information indicating success or failure when communicating with another IP address. Now, how ping works is based on the idea of how many people ever heard of something called how does submarines and sonars work? Anyone familiar with um, um, sonars and submarines? Uh, how do submarines work? Sonars. What's the whole point of it? Anyone? Anyone know how submarines work? Anyone ever? Anyone? Reflecting signal determined this. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, submarine will send out a ping on also known as an echo. Now, if there is a pong coming back, a reply, ooh, there's something in front. If you get a reply, that means, ooh, you hit something. So how ping works is a very simple protocol. It's ping, pong, or echo, and then you get a reply. Echolocation, perfect. Okay, and using ping, okay, using ping um, is pretty rudimentary. All you need to do is ping and the IP address, which is in this case 192.168.1.219. That's it. All you need to do is ping followed by the IP address or the domain, hit the enter key, and now notice what happens. And now you get 64 bytes back and ICMP sequence. You have a whole bunch of replies coming back. Hit Control C to get out of here. 12 packets transmitted. Now, if you're curious about how it looks like under the hood in Wireshark, and I need to show this for a very important reason. Now, I just want to make sure. Come on, buddy. Hey, hey! There you go. Now, I'm just going to go to Capture Options. I'm using my, not my wireless, I'm using Wi-Fi. Oh, gee. There's so much traffic. This is all the packets between, with the Twitch server. But what I can do is I can filter only ICMP traffic ping. And now notice what happened. Oh no, not this again. Oh no, not this again. Someone's totally messing with me. Who in the world is sending me bottles on the wall? 92 bottles of beer on the wall, 91 bottles of beer. Who's sending me this stuff? 82 bottles of beer on the wall? Who's doing this to me? Anyway, okay. Yeah, who's sending me bottles of beer on the wall? This has happened again. It happened like a year ago, and I still can't figure out what's going on. Alright. Well, that's okay. But what happened if I actually and ip.addr equals 192.168.1.219? I only want to see ping packets going to and from 192.168.1.219, the target that we're working with. Now, I am going to, and I'm just leave this open, clear, but if I go to do a ping 192.168.1.219 again, bing, and you can see what's happening. I'm going to hit Control C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 echo and replies. 6 packets transmitted, 6 packets received. That's a total of 12 packets. Do we see a total of no packet loss, which is wonderful? Do we see a total of 12 packets here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yay! You can see under the hood that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 packets. 6 requests and 6 replies. Wonderful. This looks good. But here's the thing. Ping is really, really good. Ping is really, really good to just determine if a target is even up and running. It's a really basic diagnostic tool. However, ping has some really, really notable problems. Some serious problems. It's not the best reconnaissance tool in the world. It isn't. It's actually not. There are a couple serious issues with just using ping for any sort of reconnaissance. The first one is what CISO Global said. Most systems nowadays, like routers, completely block ping for very, very good reasons. And that reason will be a big topic next week on Twitch when we talk about bringing down the internet and Scapy. Ping has been abused for a was abused for a very long time, and it still is to some degree. So there is a reason why a lot of systems now block ping. But there's another reason. There's another reason why ping is not great for information gathering. Can anyone see why? I'll give you a hint. Take a look at the Wireshark screen. Take a look at the packet details. Take a look at the fields. Does anyone want to take a wild ass guess? Notice something. Layer 2, layer 3, and that's it. Is it only pings blocked or ICM ping? No. So it's actually both. So pings have a problem in that pings are blocked on a lot of systems. But there's another thing with ping packets as well. Anyone know this? I'll give you a hint. The Internet Control Message Protocol, ICMP, on the OSI layer, it's on the network layer. It's on layer 3. Only on layer 3, not layer 4. Hint, 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 hint. I'll give you a hint. It's this line right here. ICMP differs from transport protocols such as TCP and UDP, and that is typically not used to exchange data between systems. Would it give information? It will, but TCP will do that as well. But there's another bigger problem. What information does, okay, now read this line right here from Wikipedia. That TCP and UDP is that, ping is typically not, it is not typically used to exchange data between systems. That line right here. So in other words, what information will not be provided to you by ping or ICMP? Anyone? This is a very important topic. Now you got to know this. Extremely important. Yeah, it gives away, but so doesn't TCP in a lot of cases. This is something that you really got to know. And it is kind of a trick question. Here's the answer. Ping slash ICMP is on layer 3 of the OSI model, the network layer. Things like data, port numbers are on layer 4 of the OSI model, TCP. to make a long story short, there is no concept of ports and port numbers on the network layer. The network layer is only the source and destination IP address, and that's it. No ports, no data. You cannot ping a port. I repeat, you cannot ping a port. So if you take a look at the ICMP or ping packets, there's no concept of ports. So that's why one of the big reasons why ping is not great for information gathering. It is not great at all. You can't. It's only just going to check if a target is up or down. That's it. If there even is a target, no port information, none of that. So that being said, what can we now look at? Now let's answer numbers 1. Yeah, let's answer number 1. That's the big one. The big one now we're going to look at is, all right, open ports. If we can identify what the open ports are on this target, okay, hey, then we can answer questions like the software version, operating system, what kind of device it is, and all kind of other goodies. Okay, so the next tool we are going to use is the Swiss Army knife of the internet, better known as, stop and quit without saving. I want to introduce to you to a very, very, very famous tool that it's installed on most systems except for Windows. It's very well known, and it's a very rudimentary tool as well. And that is called Netcat. NC, Netcat. Netcat. Netcat is the Swiss Army knife of the internet. Okay, what Netcat is the utility that just reads and writes data across network connection, either using UDP or TCP protocols. It is quote unquote one of the most popular tools in the network and system administrator's arsenal, and is considered the Swiss Army knife. Okay, Netcat. Netcat. We're not getting Nmap yet, folks. Netcat, yeah. What are your thoughts on wait, Sys Plus? You mean the exam? I don't know if you're spelling the exam right. Oh, never heard of it. I've never heard of CYSA Plus. Never heard of it, to be honest with you. So I can't judge. I can't judge. Anyway, here is what Netcat is. Netcat is generally platform independent. So you can use Netcat to debug and monitor network connections, scan for port, transfer data, proxy, you name it. So the most rudimentary how you use Netcat is just NC, just 2 letters, followed by the host or the IP address, followed by a target. I mean the port number. That's it. That's all you need to do. Now, you can read this, but sometimes it helps to have cheat sheets. Yes. And the SANS Institute have what is called the cheat sheet. So what is the SANS Institute? Oh, it's a cybersecurity. Yeah, I would agree. I agree with CISO Global. Generally, CompTIA exams are good entry level ones. Yeah, they're good entry, and I concur with CISO Global, especially nowadays. I always tell people certifications are nice. They won't help you. They won't ever hurt you. But nowadays, I think in terms of how much a certification helps you is much less than it was like 5, 7 years ago. Yeah, so I agree with CISO Global. Is that cybersecurity certifications will only help you, not hurt you. But the impact of it is, especially now because so many people get certifications, it's like so many people go to college. It's like, it's nice, but we need more than that. It's always like the real projects and experiences that matter. Anyway, going back. So how you use Netcat, and this is a cheat sheet. The SANS Institute, speaking of certification, offer both boot camps and certifications. Um, World-class boot camps. I'm an alum of the SANS Institute, and they publish a lot of great courses, although they are expensive, and content. And the SANS Institute created a whole bunch of cheat sheets, and one of the cheat sheets is how to use Netcat. Uh, and as you can see here, you can use Netcat. You know how you use Netcat at the most simplest level, just NC, target IP address, port number. That's it. You can even use Netcat to create a server. But at the bottom here you go. You can do Netcat to do dropout transfer, TCP banner grabber, and relays. Ooh, you can do backdoor shell. Ooh, TCP port scanner. Look at that. Ooh. All right. Okay, let's do this, folks. Do I have Netcat installed on this machine, on this Mac? Sure. MN, NC. You got it. Here it is. Netcat, arbitrary TCP and UDP connections and listens. The Netcat utility is used to just about anything under the sun involving TCP or UDP. Cool. Nice. All right. So let me ask you folks this. Let me ask you this. Yeah, that's my first ban of the year. Look at that. Uh, Let me ask you folks, give me a port number that you are curious on this target. Someone, give me a port number. Let's make a connection. All right, let's do 80. CISO Global. NC space 192.168.1.219 port and then space port 80. Let's see what happens. What happened if I enter the enter key again? I'm going to cheat a little bit. What happened if you type something like blah and hit enter? We may get something. Ooh, we got something. Hey. Okay. Interesting. Let's hang on for a second. Let's do this again. But instead of 80, let's put 666. Watch what happens. Oh. What? Oh. What? Oh. Okay. Well, what about port 22? Give me another port number. 443. Okay, 443 has some interesting behaviors. Okay, let's do 110. Let's do 110. Ah. Nope, got nothing. What about 21? Okay, so we got some some port numbers are returning stuff while others don't. All right, let's take a look at the cheat sheet. Let's do a port scan using Netcat. Hey, buddy, what? Oh. NC, okay, let's do NC space minus V minus N minus Z minus W1, target IP address target IP address, and then start port and end port. Where minus V is verbose, minus VV on Windows. Don't resolve the data, don't resolve the name without sending any data, and wait for no more than 1 second for a connection to occur. Okay, let's do this. NC minus V minus N minus Z minus W1. Target IP 192.168.1.219. Start port is, let's say, 10. End port, let's say, is 1,000. Let's do that. See what happens, if it even does work. Alright, so we're gonna just, instead, we're just gonna loop through ports numbers 10 to 1000. We have to do like a monkey approach where you just type in NC, the IP address, and every single port number, like, and I hit enter, and let's see what happens. The fuck? Alright. A whole bunch of connection refused. Did we even succeed one time? Let's see, 443. Was there anything? Alright. Alright. 21 got something. 22 got something. Alright. Okay. So here it is. Oh, we got a port scanner working, although it's pretty rudimentary. Now, here's the bad news. Here's the good news. It works. The bad news is I don't care about the connection reviews. I don't care. This is too much information. First of all, this is too much information for me. All I want to know is the open port, not the connection reviews. I don't care about the connection review stuff. Okay? So Netcat actually does his job. Netcat is a really fun tool if you can even like to just. Here is a little thing for you is that although Netcat is not the greatest port scanner, you can create a port scanner for using Netcat. Furthermore, it doesn't disqualify the value of Netcat. I just want to let you know is that you will do this in lab number 3. If you actually get weird port numbers back that are open, Netcat is wonderful to use to poke holes. That is, let's say you have port number, let's say for example, tap to allow or deny. I'm gonna allow that. Yeah, so 21443, is that it? I'm not even sure. CISO Global, I'm not even sure. If 2180 and 443, I'm not even so sure. But I want to say, if let's say for example, you see in the results that port 666 was indeed open, you know, you can test by the IP address 666 and should give you something back. Netcat is a really, really cool tool to see what a port or service is really doing. I want to give you that all as a heads up. But now you see that although, Netcat works, you can use it as a port scanner, it's not the best. It's not the best one. But Netcat, you can use it for all sorts of stuff like, oh, let's see, what is this port or service doing? Which leads into the one, I think, the tool that everyone is waiting for. Okay? Is there a better port scanner out there? Oh, yes. What if I told you that the port scanner that I'm going to show you can also identify vulnerabilities, can determine operating system, can determine what kind of device it is, software version, and even encryptions being used. Yes. And it is now my pleasure to introduce to you the very legendary network mapper, better known as Nmap. Okay? And you will see why in a few moments, why Nmap is, so many people, it is like the de facto port scanner that people use. Nmap was written by my friend Fyodor. Yeah. Nmap.org. Nmap.org. Nmap is free, it's open source, and also platform independent. Yes, there should have been a drum roll. Absolutely should have been a drum roll. Nmap, the network mapper. Okay? Here it is, the network mapper. It's a free and open source utility for network discovery and also for security auditing. Nmap was written by my friend Fyodor. Originally, it was written in C. Um, System administrators use Nmap to do network inventorying, monitoring hosts, yada. List goes on. Again, it's platform independent. Um, Anyone here a movie buff? Anyone a movie buff? Nmap has been in a number of movies, most famously in The Matrix Reloaded, wonderful movie. Ocean 8, there you go. Snowden, never seen that. Dread, never seen that. Asylum, anyone ever seen Fantastic Four? Who Am I? The legendary Who Am I? Born Ultimatum. Die Hard 4. Die Hard is a Christmas movie, don't argue with me on that. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. G.I. Joe Retaliation. The Listening, Justice League, Doom. Abduction, Extracted, Game of Death, Broken Saints. Wow, seems like there's a whole bunch of new movies here. I did catch someone ask me, do I watch Dr. Robot? I mean, Mr. Robot. And the answer is, no. I think Cecil Global and I lived it. And furthermore, one other note is that a lot of my friends were consulted to uh, on the content of Mr. Robot. Mr. Robot is as real as it gets. And the one thing they did absolutely correct, and many kudos to Mr. Robot, is they did consult with real cybersecurity folks on it. So yes, it's as good as it gets in terms of content and entertainment. So a shout out to the Mr. Robot crew out there. Okay. Which I hope all of you for this watch are quite foul of many of. Of course, they usually. Yeah, yeah. It's actually very true. I don't know if they called you CISO Global for this. I don't know. But how you use Nmap is, before you use Nmap, um, how you install. Now, I'm on Mac OS. So again, you can install Nmap. Um, on Linux, you just use your package manager. On Windows, let's say on Windows, you download the exe. If you're on Mac OS, you can choose to download the binary, but my preferred method is use Homebrew. Homebrew is what is called the missing package manager. Homebrew, brew.sh, what Homebrew does is you can use Homebrew to install all your favorite software. That also includes like Firefox, Chrome, um, um, what else? Microsoft products, Adobe products, list goes on, and also command line tools like Nmap. So, assuming that you have installed Homebrew, to install Nmap on your machine, it's just brew install Nmap. And it says, and here's the nice thing about Homebrew, is generally speaking, it will almost always install the latest and up-to-date version of your software. This is the one problem with Mac OS installed. Like when anything that Mac OS or Apple has, for developer tools, is always going to be outdated. Got to a point where Apple said, we can't do this anymore. You're on your own, which is good. I appreciate that. Yeah, and so you can see here, I already got Nmap ready, installed, up to date. Okay, so now if I do brew, if I do clear man Nmap, here it is. Nmap is the network exploration tool and security/port scanner. It is a very, very thorough man page. And one of the things about Nmap is it's an easy version like to use. It's just Nmap and then the IP address or the domain. And there's so many options. So many options. I mean, there's stuff that options I don't even know about here. But we'll go through some of them like today. Like, for example, you can see operating system detection and software detection. You can even do firewall evasion, evasion, spoofing, out, like so many stuff, so much. Like, want to give a shout out to Fyodor and the Nmap team for all their hard work for been a long time. Yeah. All right, to use Nmap, the most rudimentary way is just Nmap IP address 1.219. Now earlier on, CISO Global said 2180 and 443. Is that it? Well, unfortunately, this is one. That's the output of that. I mean, that's what we saw from Netcat. Well, let's see what Nmap does. And it can take. Well, Nmap can take a while. On real IP addresses, it can take a while. In this case, it only took 1.49 seconds, and the reason being, it's on my home network. Now, CISO Global. Here we are. This is the result of the Nmap scan on the target in question. Not shown 995 closed TCP port connection refused. But you notice something. The basic Nmap output will show the port that it found, the port number, the state, and also the service name. So this is a very basic Nmap scan result. You're only going to see port number, state, and the service. Okay, so I got 3 questions for you. Now I have 3 questions for each and every one of you. That's the result. Number 1, what question do you have? Question number 2 is, what do you do now? What can you do now? And number 3 is a very important one, which is, how does Nmap actually work? And see those new ports. You can do that. Yeah. I wonder what the hell 8000 really is. I really don't know what 8000 really is. What is 2323? Hey, it looks like that NC port 2323 is used for SSH purposes. Notice that I don't have port 22 open on this machine, on this target. Port 22 is not, which is port 22 is typically used for SSH. But in this case, it looks like that port 2323 is SSH. Well, I'll be really honest with you. So I can tell you on this 192.168.1.219 target, the SSH server is moved to port 2323. If I do SSH mchow at 192.168.1.219 minus p2323, I can go and enter in a password, and it's going to enter in 3 times. Or I can do, actually the username on this is actually msfadmin, and the password is msfadmin, and I got in. Yeah. Well, let's do that Nmap scan again. So it's interesting that you found me out a little bit. First of all, the SSH port is really at port 2323. Now, wait a minute. Why in the world is the service? Wait a minute. This is one of the values of what's, thanks, by the way, for CISO Global for joining us today. I actually don't know, like, I can't guess who CISO Global really is by name. And I really don't know who CISO Global is by name. I mean, I have like four names in my head, and I can't guess which one it is. NC29. So if I do a netcat connection on port 2323, it's going to say, oh, it's SSH. But why is the Nmap scan showing 3D NFSD? And the reason being is that Nmap has a lookup table, by default has a lookup table of services. So port 21 is always going to be FTP, port 2323 is going to be 3D and FSD. But one of the important things that we just pointed out is don't assume is if you really want to know what a port is really doing or what the service offered on a port is, like port 2323, you actually have to do a connection. You need to touch it. You need to poke holes. You need to do a netcat. Or like, you know, even things like opening up a web browser. Okay? So, there is another thing too. So let me ask you folks this. You'd see that HTTP and HTTPS are enabled, port 80 and 443. What can you do? Anyone? What do you think you can do? The netcat report says 80 and 443 are open. What do you think you can now do? Just go to a web browser because 80 and 443 are synonymous with web browsing. 192.168. Hey, it says it's open. Should be a web server there, right? Bam. Yep, there's a website. That's your website of this target 192.168.1.219. Okay, cool. HTTPS also work? Yep. Yeah. Accept the risk and continue. Yeah. Okay. Works. So interesting with this target, we've noticed one really peculiar message. Okay, this has an FTP server, has an HTTP server, HTTPS. We found out it's not 3D and FSD, but it's really an SSH server. It's moved to port 2323, and there's something at 8000. Is someone paying to keep that page active? No, but if you email me, I'll send you the source code of that entire page you can have. No, seriously, Frog. If you want a copy of that page, I'll just send you the source of the entire page. No questions asked. Okay, what we really want to understand more is how does Nmap really work? How does Nmap really work? So here is the thing. Nmap, how it really works under the hood. Oh well, let's understand the state first. The different states of Nmap. Let's go for port scanning basics. What does open mean? What does open mean? Okay. The simple Nmap commands target scans 1,000 TCP ports on the host, yada yada yada. Okay. Nmap is more granular. It divides ports into 6 states: open, closed, filtered, unfiltered, open or closed or filtered. There's 6 states. The open one is the one that we always look for. Open means an application is accepting TCP connection, UDP datagrams, or SCTP association on this port. Finding these is often the primary goal of port scanning. Security-minded people know that each open port is an avenue for attack. Bam. Attackers like you and us and pen testers want to exploit the open ports, while administrators want to close or protect them. Okay. A closed port is accessible, but there is no application listening on it. Okay. They can be helpful in showing that a host is up on an IP address and as part as OS detection, operating system detection. Keep that in mind. Because closed ports are reachable, it may be worth scanning them later in case it opens up. So administrator may want to consider blocking such ports with a firewall. So closed means, okay, that there's no application listening on it. Closed ports we don't care. It's nice to know, but yeah, sometimes most of the time we don't care. But it is used for operating system detection. Filtered. Nmap cannot determine whether the port is open because packet filtering prevents a probe from reaching the port. Filtering could be from a dedicated firewall service, yada yada yada. These port frustrate attackers because they provide little to no information. Okay. Unfiltered state means port is accessible, but Nmap is unable to determine whether it's open or closed. These are irritating. Filtered, unfiltered, open filtered, and closed filtered. Nmap places ports in the open or filtered state because when it's unable to determine whether a port is open or filtered. This occurs for scan types which open ports give no response. I repeat, this occurs for scan types in which open ports give no response. If you want to do something sketchy or stealthy, maybe open or filter becomes valuable to know. Okay, so these are what the states are, but these are the 6 states, possible states in Nmap. Generally speaking, we generally really care about open ports. Nothing else. Yep. Wait a minute. Okay, so now we know about the open states. We know about states, but how does Nmap really work? Well, how Nmap really works. Does anyone want to take a guess how Nmap really works? This is important. This is a really good read. Um, as a novice, this is good. This first paragraph is excellent. About being an automotive repair. You can use all kind of tools and stuff. You know, when I fail miserably and tow my jalopy to a real mechanic, he invariably fishes around in a huge tool chest until pulling out the perfect gizmo which makes the job seamless. The art of port scanning is very similar. Experts understand a dozen of scan techniques and choose the appropriate ones for a given task. Inexperienced users will just use or script kiddies, which is a derogatory term, quote unquote derogatory term. On the other hand, try to solve every problem with the default sync scan, SYN. Therefore, folks, this paragraph just told you how Nmap actually works. By default, when you do Nmap followed by an IP address, it's going to do a sync scan, TCP sync. Um, Remember the TCP three-way handshake? Sync, ACK, and ACK? Well, here we go. TCP sync scan is the default and most popular scan for good reason. It can be performed quickly, scan thousands of ports per second on a fast network. It is also relatively unobtrusive and stealthy, since it never completes the TCP handshake connection. Okay, so let me do this again, but this time I want to fire up Wireshark again. I'm going to capture packets, and I'm going to do ip.addr equals 192.168.1.219. That's my target. Watch what happens now when I clear the screen. I go back up, and I do just straight Nmap of 192.168.1.219. How does Nmap actually work under the hood? Take a look. Boom. And that's it. How Nmap works under the hood is like this. You can see that in this case, the first packet is 192.168.1.244. That's my computer. Sent a TCP sync packet to 192.168.1.219 at port 80. And there's no response back. 192.168.1.244, my computer sent a TCP sync packet to 192.168.1.219 at port 443. You notice that port 80 here sent sync ACK back. That means the port is alive and well. That means the port is up there. Oh, it actually does. Wait, it does connect to? Yeah. Yep, does do the handshake. Sync, ACK, and ACK. Port 443 sent a sync ACK. But for ports like 1723, 993, 48, 113, 587, all sent an RST reset, also known as get out of here. A lot of TCP sync packets here. There's also a lot of RSTs in response. Get out of here. A lot of RSTs. Yep. Lots of ports. 3260 RST. 6, get out of here. 43 RST. Yep, so by default, TCP sync scan. You can see a whole bunch of TCP syncs. And for ports that are not open or closed, it's just a whole bunch of RSTs in response. So that is how Nmap works under the hood. Okay, so now we are done with open ports. Where's a target located? Part of that is done. That's really who is. And I'm just give a dot. We'll come back, 3 and 4 I'll mention very briefly in the end. Now let's do 5, 6, 7, 8. No, now let's do 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10. We'll talk about if there's any vulnerability, what kind of devices it is, operating system, software version, and encryption, and even encryption even being used. Let's go further. Okay, let's go further now. Let me do a man of Nmap. And this should be a sample scan here. -A minus T4 on a domain. And this one, as you can see, a typical Nmap scan is shown below in the example 1. The only Nmap arguments used in the example are -A, minus capital A to enable OS and version detection. Okay, we got that in script scanning, and trace route -T4 for faster execution, and then the host name. Cool. So we may want to use -A for operating system detection and software detection version. Okay. I like to use P0. Okay. Treat all the hosts as online. Skip host discovery. I like that one. You can use also, if you just want operating system detection, use -O. Okay. So now going back up, -A for operating system and software detection for software detection, and -P0 to make it really quick. At the target, here we go. Is there a cost to the faster execution from the T4? I'm sure there is. Yeah, there may be a cost to that, but then again, there is a cost to everything. I hit enter. This one could take a little while because now we're trying to dig for operating system. We're going to need to gather a lot more information than just port numbers, so it's going to take a little longer. So we wait. Oh shit. Okay, here we go. And it took 18.9 seconds. Okay, not bad. The host is up. Port 21 FTP is open. FTP is using VSFTPD as a software version. Port 80 is using Nginx version 1.18. It even actually goes and showed the HTTP headers, SSL certificate information. Hey, TCS Hacksaw Tool. Want to give a shout out to my buddy Russell Butterini? Oh, look at that. It even actually shows you the version, not only the version of SSH that's used at port 2323, but also the host key information, the public host key. Port 8000 is a what? Site doesn't have a type. I have no idea what port 8000 even does. NSCA. And it looks like the operating system is Linux of some sort. Okay. Yeah, because, thank you, CISO Global. P minus capital P of N or minus capital P0 is very important because if the host doesn't respond to pings, it won't scan it. There you go. Thank you. Thanks for the clarification so much. So now, yeah, here it is. We can actually, essentially, we can infer vulnerabilities from the services offered. Definitely what kind of a device is it? Well, in this case, it's a Linux server of some sort. Operating system, software detection version. Encryption, yeah, we even got certificate information. We even got certificate information on the SSH server and on the HTTPS part as well. So using Nmap is a very powerful tool that actually can answer a lot of questions. Open ports, device type, operating system type, software version, encryption, certificates. Oh yeah, lots of stuff. Lots of stuff. One thing I do want to bring up is, okay, and I want to actually thank you so much, CISO Global, for being here today, because you mentioned something very earlier today that was very important is this is what we have been doing generally has been what is called active reconnaissance. Active reconnaissance is we're actually touching the server. The server, in this case, or the target, is going to have a record, is going to see exactly who is doing what. Like the target in this case, 192.168.1.219, is probably recording like everything that we have been doing. The ping, the netcat connections, the SSH connections for sure, and even the Nmap scan. So this leads to a conversation, okay, but if we want to like be a little bit more stealthy, can we do that with Nmap? And the answer is, yeah, we can. Nmap do have options to be for the attacker, you, to be very stealthy. And I want to talk about these three types of scans. TCP null, TCP fin, and TCP Christmas tree scans. These three scan types exploit a subtle loophole in the TCP request for comments that to differentiate between open and closed ports. So the RFC says, quote, if the destination port state is closed and an incoming segment or packet does not contain RST, causes an RST to be sent in response. Okay? So, in other words, it said when scanning systems compliant with this RFC text, any packet not containing, your traditional sync, RST, or ACK bits will result in a return RST if the port is closed and no response at all if the port is open. As long as none of these three bits are included, any combination, are okay. Nmap exploit this with three scan types. The first scan is called the no scan. It just sends a packet without any TCP flags, like no sync, no ACK, no fin, no urge, no nothing. Okay? The fin scan is it just sends packets with an FIN, fin. Christmas tree scan is a scan that actually will set the fin, push, and urge flags of the TCP layer, lighting up the packet like a Christmas tree. Just one key note here is in order to do these scans, you need to be sudo nmap minus lowercase s, let's say fin scan, capital F for fin scan, 192.168.1.219. I want to fire up Wireshark for this one so you can see. Okay, so I'm just gonna, in Wireshark, showed you what happens under the hood when I do a fin scan against the target at 192.168.1.219. And you get very similar result, but the only one thing is that you get back is the state is open or filtered. Very similar result to a regular Nmap scan, but now the state of the ports are open or filtered. But if you take a look at under the hood in in Wireshark, you take a look at now the scan doesn't use SYN, it uses the fin flag, and the behavior is kind of the same. If it is a closed port or not available, what the target will return is RST, get out of here. But if there is an open port like 80, the target will not send back anything. So Nmap inferred, oh, I did not get back anything about port 80. I did not get back an RST from 192.168.1.219. I may get the impression that that port is open. So RST, no good. If you don't get an RST back from the target, something interesting. Maybe very interesting. Okay. Let's do this again, but now I'm just going to continue without saving, but this time I'm going to do Christmas tree scan, one of my favorite. Sudo nmap minus, the flag is minus lowercase s capital X for Christmas tree. Boom. Same results, very similar results, if not the same results. 1.65, 1.67 seconds, fine. But now look at the packets that are sent from Nmap to the target. They all have the flags fin push urge, fin push urge, fin push urge, fin push urge, fin push urge. And again, if you see RST getting sent to you by the target, not good. Nothing back from the target. Maybe something else. Okay. But wait a minute, I don't need this anymore. And we're almost out, and we're out of time. Wait a minute. What about things like emails you can do with Whois, URLs, that's usually Google or search engine. There's other tools as well. But what if you want to be doing passive reconnaissance and you want to get a lot of this information? Well, option number one, I mean, we just talked about the fin push and the fin null and Christmas tree scans. I mean, you're still touching the target in some way, shape, or form. But if you want to get a lot of this information, including like geographical location and vulnerabilities, you may want to, and of course the IP address is like public, you may want to use the scariest search engine on the internet, better known as Shodan. Shodan.io. Hey. Yeah, Shodan.io. Here it is. Shodan.io. And this is going to be used in lab number 3. You do need to log in. If you are an academic, if you have a .edu email address, you can have a free academic account. Shodan is the search engine for everything on the internet. Baby monitors, wind turbines, databases, Minecraft servers, everything. Can I type Minecraft in? I did. 240,224 Minecraft servers. Let's click on an IP address. This one's in Japan. Open ports. Minecraft server 19132 is the port number for a Minecraft server, I guess. Shows you the host name, the cloud provider if there's any, geolocation, sometimes even shows vulnerabilities. In the interest of time, and also to not get into any more further trouble, Shodan is wonderful because it does passive reconnaissance. Is that you're essentially not touching the target. In this example right here, it's like 54.249.205.120. Unless you actually, you can, if I'm not mistaken, like click on an IP address or click on, if it is available, sometimes you can click on the port number and it actually will go to the target directly. But Shodan is generally passive reconnaissance, and Shodan already done all the work for you. How Shodan works behind the scene is like, think of it this way: it's like a big Nmap scan of the internet really quickly, like every so often, usually within 24 hours. But this is as far as I will go and show, because you can do some more crazy things with Shodan, like seeing webcam data and images. But I'll leave it at that. Yep, the crematorium I mentioned. Click on images because that gets people excited, especially if you do 3389. Yeah, can we do it? Oh, can you go to image? Like if you go to images, you have to log in. If you go to images, yeah, you have to log in. I'm not gonna log in. Boy, let's say port 3389. What is port 3389? Is that RDP? Oh, to use search filters. No. Let's see if I do it. What happens if I just do RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol? That works. Some of these may have pictures. Yeah. Let's leave it at that for now. Before we get too weird and too dangerous, folks. The interesting to consider is that Shodan gathering information is it's not Shodan gathering information is not passive. It's only passive when you do it because you're accessing Shodan, who did the in other words, Shodan did the dirty work for you. And you're not touching the destination host directly. Yeah, that's a good clarification. All right, folks, next week we'll talk about distributed denial of service and Python. Thanks all. Yeah, more coming soon. I still don't know. Yes, Shodan did the dirty work for you. And it does the dirty work like every 24 hours, something like that. Yeah. I don't know who CISO Global is. I really don't. I can't guess. I'm pretty sure I know the person. I'll keep guessing. Thanks, CISO Global. I don't know who this is. Now you get me thinking. I wonder who CISO Global is. Maybe I should stop streaming now.